Welcome back to the book of 2Samuel. Today we're going to be taking a look at chapter 6. All right. Now, chapter 6 deals with the Tabernacle of David. You know, the Tabernacle of David plays a very important part in Scripture. You know, for it's prophesied, you know, that our Messiah would reestablish and reset up the Tabernacle of David. Now we've been talking about David and how his name means beloved, and how we can acquaint ourselves with being David, as even as our Messiah was a type of David. The overcomers are a type of David is a type of overcomer, you know, and essentially, you know, those who are beloved of Elohim and who love Elohim are truly David, spiritually speaking. Okay, now with understanding that, you know, we went through and we've seen how, you know, we know how David, his struggles and along the way, but now he's finally in a place where he's ruling and reigning over all of Israel, you know, and he's gotten to the point to where he's actually living in Jerusalem, you know, that is the teachings of peace, you know, and he brought forth all these wonderful fruit, you know, that came from him when he began to live in the teachings of peace, or Jerusalem. Just as a little recap from last week, you know, he brought forth a hearkener, one that not only hears the word, but obeys it, not just a hearer, but a doer. You know, a shoab, you know, one that's returned or turned back to Yah, that is converted. He brought forth a Nathan, a giver, a Solomon, one that's peaceable, Ibhar, one that Yah has chosen. You know, Elishua, one that recognizes El as their savior. A Nepheg, one that has sprout forth. Yaphia, the one that is bright and shining, that's a light in the earth, hallelujah. Elishama, one that Elohim hears, you know. Eliada, one that is knowing of Elohim and knows Elohim, you know, and one as and brought forth an Eliphalet, one that recognizes El as their deliverer, you know, in throughout everything that they go through. Amen. Okay, so, you know, you have to follow along with that theme. Here it is. We get to chapter 6. So we have a person that's living in the teachings of peace, you know, which speaks to Yahshua's commandments, words, and sayings. Those were truly the teachings of peace. He taught us to be wise as serpents, yet gentle as doves. You know, he taught us that we're to shower our feet with the gospel of what? Peace. Absolutely. All right, so now he decided to erect the tabernacle, and we actually was talking about this even before it came to pass, that, you know, that's essentially our job here as believers, here on earth as believers, is to erect a tabernacle, you know, for Yah to dwell in. You know, so here it is. We all have a tabernacle. These flesh bodies are a type of tabernacle. Amen. You know, and our goal is to try to make these tabernacles clean and holy enough that the Most High will come and dwell within them. Amen. Amen. You know, and so that's what Scripture does. You know, it teaches us how to be clean and holy. You know, that's what the Old Testament does. You know, it teaches us how to be clean and holy. You know, how we can have a blessed life here on earth. You know, and our Messiah, his words, commandments, and sayings teaches us how we can have eternal life. Amen. You know, and be blessed in the hereafter. Okay, now, concerning the tabernacle of David, Yeshayahu, in chapter 16, verse 5, he says, speaking of our Messiah, he says, "In mercy shall the throne be established, and he shall sit upon it in truth in the tabernacle of David, judging and seeking judgment and hasting righteousness." So here it is. We see a prophecy concerning our Messiah, You know, in mercy shall his throne be established. And truly it was. And he says he shall sit upon it in truth in the tabernacle of David. You know, so in order for that to happen, the tabernacle had to be re-erected. Amen?
Amen.
You know, Acts 15, 14 through 17 also speaks to the tabernacle of David. It says, Simeon have declared how Elohim at the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. You know, and there are some who will say that this wasn't speaking about the Gentiles as in other nations besides Israel, but the lost tribes of Israel. And that's just not true, you know, for he was actually quoting one of the prophets. Hence we read in verses 15 through 17, it says, and to this degree the words of the prophets, as it is written. After this I will return and build again the tabernacle of David. So you see, this was prophesied that the Messiah would actually build again the tabernacle of David. And I want you to know that he did once again build the tabernacle of David. He built the tabernacle of the beloved of Elohim, of one that's beloved of Elohim and one that loves Elohim. You know, and if that speaks to you, then you're a part of that tabernacle. You know, so he says, after this, I will return and build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down. I will build again the ruins thereof. I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after Yahuwah, and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called. Saith Yahuwah, who doeth all these things. You know, now, I don't really like this translation. This is the KJV, and it translated this word residue is translated from kata oipos. Yeah, say that 5 times real fast. You know, that was rhetorical. You know, and so here it is. Residue is kata oipos. You know, number 2645 in the Greek, and it means left remaining. Okay, so actually what it's speaking of is the men left remaining outside of Israel. You know, that the residue of the men left remaining outside of Israel might seek after Yahuwah. And all the Gentiles, hence it speaks of the Gentiles, which means nations. All the Gentiles were nations upon whom my name is called, saith Yahuwah, who doeth all these things. Now, this is a quote from Amos. So again, you know, and I stress this because some people will say these Gentiles are speaking about, you know, the lost tribes of Israel, and it's just not true. Go back to where it was quoted from in Amos 9, 11, and 12. It tells us, it says, in that day I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. You know, and that's important to understand too, because he's building it as in the days of old. You know, so it's not a new thing. It's an old thing. Amen. Amen. You know, verse 12. That they may possess the remnant of Edom and all of the heathen which are called by my name. Now we see exactly who those Gentiles refer to, right? Yeah. Edom and the heathens. Saith Yahuwah that doeth this. You know, so, and, you know, just a word on mercy. You know, it says, in mercy shall the throne be established. You know, mercy speaks to unmerited favor. You know, and didn't none of us deserve what Yah has done for us. You know, it truly is unmerited favor. You know, in which his throne is established. All right. I guess we can get into David chapter 2 Samuel chapter 6 now, right? Yeah. All right, so can I have my first reader read 2 Samuel chapter 6, 1 through 3, please?
Okay. And again, David gathered together all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. And David arose and went with all the people that were with him from Baale of Judah to bring up from thence the ark of Elohim, whose name is called by the name of Yahuwah of hosts, that dwelleth between the cherubims. And they set the ark of Elohim upon a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was in Gibeah, in Uzzah, in Ahio. The sons of Abinadab drave the new cart.
Okay, so here it is. We have the beloved of Elohim, the one that's beloved of Elohim and that loves Elohim, David, right? You know, so this can speak to you or myself, you know, because it can speak to anyone who's beloved or loving Elohim. You know, it says that he gathered together all the chosen of Israel, 30,000. And David arose, said he arose, and all the people that were with him from Baale of Yahudah, you know, which speaks to the lords of Yahudah. You know, so this word chosen actually means tried. You know, so he gathered together all the tribe of Israel. And 30,000 of them, you know, and he took them from the lords of Yahudah. So these are the rulers, okay? You know, and it says to bring up from thence the ark of Elohim. Now the ark of Elohim represents his presence. You know, and this is why, you know, it represents his presence, because this is where the Most High sits. You know, this is like that throne, that mercy seat. It is that mercy seat that's being spoken of, you know, in the prophecy concerning his throne being established in mercy. You know, and in mercy shall the throne be established. You know, the top of the ark was called the mercy seat, and this is where the Most High sat, you know, betwixt the cherubim. Okay, so within this we see the place where the Most High sits, his presence, and so the ark typifies his presence. And so what David is trying to do is he's trying to get the presence of Elohim into this tabernacle that he's made. Now I want you to be able to see the spiritual picture in that, see, because if we're all a type of David and we've all have a tabernacle, a temporary dwelling place, i.e. these flesh bodies, you know, and we've been cleaning them up, and we've been getting to the point to where first where did he stay first? He stayed in was it Horeb? Horeb, which means association, you know, and so that was a spiritual picture of the beloved of Elohim. Hebron, not Horeb, Hebron. Horeb is the mountain. Yeah, Hebron, which means association. So that was a spiritual picture of him being in association or communion with Elohim. And this is how all of our walks starts out. You know, we start trying to be in association and communion with Elohim. And so he's there for a spell, you know, and then eventually he moves on to Jerusalem, you know, to the teachings of peace. You know, and this is like, you know, one of us believers, you know, now we've accepted the Messiah, you know, and his teachings of peace. You know, we begin to dwell there, and then we begin to bring forth different fruit from there as well. And, you know, that's why we went through the children, you know. And now, here it is, now that you're in the teachings of peace, you know, brought forth all this good stuff, you know, now it's like, okay, I need the presence of Elohim with me. I want the presence of Elohim to dwell within this tabernacle that I've pitched for it. You know, so you done cleaned yourself up, and you done got all the things that offend out the way, and now it's like, okay, now I want the presence of Elohim within me. Who wants the presence of Elohim in them? You know, see, and this is what this is really showing us and teaching us, you know, how we can get the presence in, as well as how not to get it in. Okay? So, verse 3 says, and they set the ark upon a new cart. Now, where did they get the idea of putting the ark of Elohim upon a new cart? You know, Yah is an El of specificity, meaning he has a specific way in which he wants to be worshipped. He has a specific way in which he wants to be dealt with. You know, you cannot serve him any way you want.
Right.
It's not Burger King. It's, you know, have it your way. It's more like McDonald's. You get it the way that it comes, you know, and that's how Yah is. He done set his way forth, and he wants you to do it his way, not any other way, not your way, not so and so's way, but his way. Amen. You know, and that's why he made certain that we all have scripture available to us so that we can do it his way. Okay, so where did they get this idea of putting the presence of Elohim, the Ark of Elohim, on a new cart? Well, it came from the immigrants, the Philistines. Philistine means immigrant. So it came from the foreigners. You know, back in the day, you know, Yah was upset with his people, and he allowed his ark to be captured by the foreigners. You know, this is nothing but a spiritual picture of the Gentiles coming in and having possession of the presence of Elohim. That's all it is. You know, if you have eyes to see, that's all it is. You know, now this happened scripturally. The story is told in 2Samuel 6:1. It says, "And the ark of Yahuwah was in the country of the Philistines 7 months." 7 being the number that speaks to completion, heavenly completion as well as earthly completion. So this is a specific time. It goes on to say, "And the Philistines called for the priest and the diviner, saying, What shall we do to the ark of Yahuwah? Tell us wherewith we shall send it to his place. For they said, If we send away the ark of Elohim, send it not empty. But in any wise return him a trespass offering, then ye shall be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. Then said they, What shall be the trespass offering which we shall return to him? They answered, 5 golden emerods and 5 golden mice, according to the number of the lords of the Philistines, for one plague was on you all and on your lords." You know, and just a backdrop to the story, they defeated Israel. They took the ark, you know, and they got it and put it in the place of their gods, you know, with their gods, and, you know, they begin to get plagued by Yah, you know. So now they're trying to get rid of it. Verses 5 through 9. "Wherefore ye shall make images of your emerods and images of your mice that mar the land, and ye shall give glory unto Elohim of Israel. Peradventure he will lighten his hand from off you, and from off your gods, and from off your land. Wherefore then do ye harden your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts, when he had wrought wonderfully among them, did they not let the people go, and they departed. Now therefore, make a new cart." See, this is where they got that idea. "Make a new cart, and take 2 milk kine, on which there have come no yoke, and tie the kine to the cart, and bring their calves home from them, and take the ark of Yahuwah, and lay it upon the cart. And put the jewels of gold, which ye return him for a trespass offering, in a coffer by the side thereof, and send it away that it may go. And see if it goeth up by the way of his own coast to Beth Shemesh." Beth Shemesh means the house of the sun. Then he have done us this great evil, but if not, then we shall know that it is not his hand that smote us. It was a chance that happened to us." You know, now, as the story will progress, they sent it off, and the ark went straight to Beth Shemesh. So they knew that it was because of Yah that this thing was coming to pass. You know, that they were plagued. And Beth Shemesh, they had the bright idea of looking in the ark. Let's see what happened. Verses 19 and 21, it says, "And he smote the men of Beth Shemesh, because they had looked into the ark of Yahuwah. Even he smote of the people 50,000, 70 men. And the people lamented, because Yahuwah had smitten many of the people with great slaughter. And they sent messengers unto the inhabitants of Kirjath-Jearim, saying, The Philistines have brought again the ark of Yahuwah. Come ye down and fetch it up." Now they trying to get rid of it, you know, because they got plagued with Yah, because they done what they shouldn't have done. You know, and so here it is. This is how the ark ends up where in Ballet of Yahuda, you know, which is the same place as Kirjath-Jearim, or Jearim, yeah. You know, so it's the same place, and this is where David has to get it from. So if this is where David had to get it from, this is where we have to get it from. You know, spiritually speaking. You know, so back to 2 Samuel 6, 3 and 4 says, and they set the ark of Elohim upon a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab, that it was in Gibeah, and Uzzah, and Achio, and the sons of Abinadab drave the new cart. And they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was at Gibeah, according to the ark of Elohim. And Achio went before the ark. Achio, start with David means beloved. 30 speaks to the blood of the Messiah. Abinadab speaks to the father of those willing. Gibeah means hill. Uzzah means strength. Achio means brotherly. So what we have, the picture we're being drawn here spiritually is the beloved of Elohim having the blood of the Messiah, you know, and the father of those willing going to a hill with strength and with the brethren. You know, and this is how they were moving the cart. This is how they were moving the ark of Elohim, rather the presence of Elohim. You know, they put it on a new cart, and we're going to get into this new cart. You know, verses 5 through 7 goes on to say, and David and all the house of Israel played before Yahuwah on all manner of instruments made of fir wood, even on harps and on psalteries and on timbrels and cornets and cymbals. And when they came to Nachon's threshing floor, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark and took hold of it, for the oxen shook it. And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Uzzah, and Elohim smote him there for his error. And there he died by the ark of Elohim. Whoa. You know, why did this happen? It's because they did something wrong. And we must understand what they did wrong so that we won't do something wrong. We've been doing it wrong too, you know, but we need to understand what's happening. Luke 12:47 says, and that servant which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. Ignorance is no excuse.
Right.
You know, if he's told you, then it's your responsibility to know.
Yeah.
Amen? If it's in his word, he's already told you, and it's your responsibility to know. And even if you don't know, and you do wrongly, you're still going to get punished. Yaakov or James 4:17 says, therefore to him that knoweth to do good, and doeth it not, to him it is sin. Hallelujah. Well, hallelujah. All right. You know, your heart's pricking, you know. But anyway, Nachon, as in Nachon's threshing floor, Nachon means prepared. You know, and so Nachon's threshing floor speaks to a prepared threshing floor. You know, but I want to speak to this new cart for a minute. You know, this ox cart in which they put the tabernacle, not the tabernacle, but the ark of Elohim upon. The ark of Elohim represents the presence of Elohim. They put it on a new cart. They got the idea for this from the Philistines. The Philistines represent the immigrants. Philistine means immigrant. So it represents the Gentiles. It represents the other nations. So they're doing something that other folks were doing. Now, it worked for them, but it won't work for Israel because they didn't know no better. They didn't have the word of Elohim, but we have the word of Elohim. You see the difference? You know, so now I want you to understand, like this cart. You know, it says they put them on a new cart. See, and to understand this next part, you really need to understand the way the Eastern mindset works. See, the Eastern mindset and the Western mindset doesn't work the same. You know, when we look at something, you know, with our Western mindset, we try to liken it unto something. You know, and we think, what is that like? So if I say, like, what is this like? You know, and you may say, well, that's kind of like a wagon, you know, or, you know, kind of like a carriage. or something to that effect. You know, because we think in likeness. You know, but the Eastern mindset doesn't think in likeness. It thinks in function. You know, see, and it's a big difference. See, because, you know, let me put it this way. You know, to the Eastern mindset or the Hebrew mindset, you know, the new cart, a roulette wheel, and a calendar are all the same thing. They are the same thing. Why? Because they all function the same way. They all go round and round. A roulette wheel goes round and round. The ox cart goes round and round. The calendar goes round and round. You know, so they think in accordance to the function of a thing. You know, and I say that because this ox cart speaks to, you know, spiritually speaks to something in Scripture that goes round and round. Something that Yah commanded his people to go round and round in. And that is his calendar, his Moedim. You know, which goes round and round. Now, think back to what the Scripture said. It said that the beloved of Elohim, you know, and think that this is a part of what Messiah did when he came. You know, he erected the Tabernacle of David. He erected it back again. You know, and you know, we see, like unto David, he said, as in the days of old. So as in the days of old is the way that he done it. So in like fashion, he put it on a new cart. You know, it was on a new cart for a while. You know, and this new cart worked up until the time it got to the threshing floor. But then somebody died. Uzzah died, right? You know, and that's because he tried to stay it. You know, he tried to make it stay when it was trying to fall. You know, Uzzah means strength. So he was trying to keep the presence of Elohim, you know, on the cart with his own strength. When Yah was trying to shake it off. You know, it's not by strength or by might, but by his Ruach. Amen. You know, so I want you to see that this new cart can be likened unto his Moedim. And I pray that you can get this picture that Scripture is painting and that I'm trying to paint for you. You know, to see that the presence of Elohim, the ark of Elohim has been put on a new cart. And it's on a new cart today. You know, when we're talking about how we're supposed to go round and round and round each year, Yah gives us his Moedim, his appointed times when he will meet with us. You know, from Shabbat to Shabbat, from Chag to Chag. You know, we go round and round, year in and year out. Okay, now that's our spiritual calendar. Amen. That's Yah's heavenly calendar. You know, but this new cart is a man-made calendar. You know, and those who adhere to it, they too go round and round, year by year. You know, but the difference is, instead of going from Shabbat to Shabbat, they go, which is the seventh day to the seventh day, they go from the first day to the first day. Instead of, you know, Pesach, they have Easter, associated with bunnies and eggs. Last I checked, bunnies don't even lay eggs. They're mammals. You know, this deals with fertility. This is not of Yah. This is that new cart that the presence of Elohim has been put on. You have to be able to see this. You know, and I know there's a lot of people who love this one. You know, surely there's nothing wrong with giving thanksgiving. It's wrong whenever you do against what the word say, whenever you're not doing what the word say. You know, and if I can find this in the word, great, but I can't. You know, this is a part of that new cart. This is also a part of that new cart. You know, they're not doing what the word say. They're doing what man has said. You have to be able to see this. This is that new cart. You know, and the presence of Elohim has been put on it. And the presence of Elohim has rolled upon it for a time. What about this one? This one just passed recently, right? You know, happy Halloween. You know, I want you to understand what you're saying when you truly say Halloween. You know, let's break it down. Hallow, what does hallow mean? The definition means to set apart as holy or sacred, to sanctify, consecrate, to honor greatly, revere. That's what hallow means. And what about ween? Ween means to be of the opinion, to think or suppose. So Halloween, when you say Halloween, you're actually saying, telling someone to set apart as holy the opinions of others. What they think or suppose. When you voice Halloween, that's what you're saying. You know, to Halloween is to set apart as holy the opinions of others. This is exactly what they've done with this new cart. All this stuff on that new cart is the opinions of others. It's not scripture. It can't be found in scripture. It is simply the opinions of others. It's what they thought. It's what they supposed. But what if they were wrong? And they are. Because it's not in the word of Elohim. See, but this is that new cart that the presence of Elohim has been put on. And it has been riding upon it for a time. But at some point, it's going to get to Nakan's threshing floor. It's going to get to that threshing floor. It's going to get to that prepared place that Elohim has. And it's going to no longer stay up there. And if you try to force it, if Uzzah put forth his strength to keep it on there, he's going to drop dead. Now, this is a picture of a threshing floor. Because I know, we're city folks. We're not, familiar with these agricultural aspects of things. So I try to give you some type of picture to go along with it. Now this is where they separated grain, either by having mules or tread on it by beating it with flails. Now, this is what I want you to understand. That the threshing floor is where the grain is beaten with flails, to separate the wheat from the chaff. But you have to understand it from the spiritual perspective. So what does that mean for us, Pastor Obadiah? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let us consider Yochanan the Immerser, Matthew 3:11 and 12. Yochanan the Immerser said, I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance. But he that cometh after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear. He shall baptize you with Ruach HaKodesh and with fire, whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor and gather his wheat into the garner. But he will burn up the shaft with unquenchable fire. So hereby we see that that Yochanan the Immerser referred to the believers as what? Wheat. Yahushua referred to the head of his ecclesia as wheat as well. In Luke 22:31, it says, and the Adonai says, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as what? Wheat. And I want you to know that Yahushua also referred to himself as wheat. And Yochanan 12:23 and 24 says, and Yahushua answered them, saying, the hour is come that the Son of Man should be glorified. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except the corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. Yahushua taught the parable of the wheat and the tares. Did he not? He taught that the wheat was the children of the kingdom, but the tares were the children of the wicked. So which do we want to be? Anybody want to be wheat? But before the wheat is brought into the barn, it must be taken to the threshing floor. See, and this is why we see the cart doing what it's doing at Nakan's threshing floor. See, there's a threshing floor that has been prepared for the wheat of Elohim. Now, I got a question for you. How do you think the wheat is separated from its shaft? It has to be beaten. That's how it's separated. You know, this is a glimpse of the past. These things they're holding in their hands are called flails. So when you hear about, someone getting flailed, they were like two sticks joined together by a small chain. And this is the wheat on the floor, and they would literally beat the wheat to separate the wheat from the chaff. We're called to be what? Wheat. We're called to be wheat. So how are we going to get separated from our chaff? Hello, somebody. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm going to let you know what this thing really about.
That's right.
If you really want to walk this walk, I'm going to let you know what it looked like. This is what it looks like. Do the wheat jump up and fight back? Wise as serpents, gentle as doves. These flails can be likened to Yahshua's commandments, words, and sayings. Sometimes in following them, you'll feel like you're getting beat. You'll feel like it's hitting you. This is what we're called to do. Now, spiritually speaking, Yah has prepared a threshing floor. There is a Nakan's threshing floor that's coming, a future Nakan's threshing floor to fulfill what we're reading about here in 2 Samuel 6. I want you to know what that looks like too, because it's forthcoming. It speaks to the folks in the last days, and I know that we're in latter days than the ones that preceded us, right?
Yeah.
So we may just be in the last days.
Yeah.
I can't say for certain, but I know this week we're much closer to it than we were last week. Amen.
Yeah.
Let me have my next reader read 2 Samuel 6, 8 through 12.
And David was displeased because Yahuwah had made a breach upon Uzzah, and he called the name of the place Perez Uzzah to this day. And David was afraid of Yahuwah that day, and said, How shall the ark of Yahuwah come to me? So David would not remove the ark of Yahuwah unto him into the city of David. But David carried it aside into the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. And the ark of Yahuwah continued in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 months. And Yahuwah blessed Obed-Edom and all his household. And it was told King David, saying, Yahuwah hath blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that pertaineth unto him, because of the ark of Elohim. So David went and brought up the ark of Elohim from the house of Obed-Edom into the city of David with gladness.
Hallelujah. I got to recant my last statement. I misspoke. I hope I don't confuse nobody. But this Nakan's threshing floor, it's not forthcoming. It happened. The Nakan's threshing floor actually spoke to what would happen to the disciples and the apostles, all those that was martyred, even as the Messiah was during that time. This is when the wheat was beaten. They were beat they were truly separated. The wheat was separated from the chaff.
Yeah.
You know, the chaff is simply a covering that is over the wheat, even as these flesh bodies is a covering over our spirit man.
Mm-hmm.
When we're fathered from above, you know, i.e. born again, you know, we dwell within this house. You know, this house is just simply a covering, you know, and when we're separated from it, you know, we're as wheat taken and put in the barn, so to speak. Amen.
Amen.
You know, and this is what happened to our Messiah. This is what happened to the apostles that followed behind them. You know, many of them was beaten. Many of them was martyred, you know, for their beliefs. Okay, and this spiritually spoke to Nakan's threshing floor. Now, what we just read here in verses 8 through 12, more so speak to us today. It speaks to the wine press, which is forthcoming, because that's where the presence of Elohim is now, and that's where we have to go to get it. You know, when we go get it, that's where we're gonna have to go. The first time y'all tried to bring it into the Tabernacle of David, it didn't work. You know, and it's because it was on that new card. You know, but when we go get it, we're gonna learn from our predecessors' mistakes. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna learn from their mistakes. We're not gonna repeat the same things that they did wrong. We're gonna be wiser for their error. Amen.
Amen.
You know, and so here it is. During that time, it says, and David was displeased because Yahweh had made a breach upon Uzzah, and he called the name of the place Perez Uzzah. You know, to this day, which means the breach was strengthened. You know, so they was trying to bring the presence of Elohim into all the believers, but instead caused it to be even further apart. And David was afraid. He said, "How shall the ark of Yahuwah come to me?" You know, and this is something that we should all be asking ourselves. How is the presence of Elohim, how shall it come to me? How can I put it in this tabernacle that I've erected for it? You know, said that during that time that it was carried to the house of Obed-Edom. Obed-Edom means servant of Edom. Edom, you know, speaks to the flesh. You know, and so this is a picture of, you know, it went to the servants of the flesh. You know, and of course, Edom was a Gentile. You know, and he was also a Gittite, which means belonging to Gath. And Gath means wine press. You know, and so within this we see a picture of the Gentiles and the wine press. You know, and so it says Yahweh had blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that pertaineth to it. And if we take a look at the servants of flesh that has the presence of Elohim now today, you know, i.e. the quote-unquote churches, we can truly see that Yahuwah have blessed the house of Obed-Edom, did he not?
Yes.
You know, the servants of flesh, they're flying around in private jets and driving Rolls Royces, and you know, and they have all these wonderful things, and you know, these sanctuaries that holds thousands and thousands of people, and so on and so forth. You can truly see that Yahuwah have blessed the house of Obed-Edom. You know, and I call them Obed-Edom because they truly are serving the flesh, because, you know, what they do doesn't align with the word of Elohim. You know, and so, but there's coming a time when David will come back down to Obed-Edom's house and get the ark of Elohim from the house of Obed-Edom.
Yes.
And bring it into the city of David with gladness. That time is forthcoming. He's going to have to go to the house of Obed-Edom. He's going to have to go to the wine press, and he's going to have to get them. You know, now this is spoken of, this is what's forthcoming, and it's spoken of in Revelation. You know, Revelation 14, to be precise, and we're going to get into that in just a second. You know, verses 12 through 15, my next reader, please.
And it was told King Melech David, saying, Yahuwah hath blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that pertaineth unto him because of the ark of Yahuwah. So David went and brought up the ark the ark of Elohim from the house of Obed-Edom into the house of David with gladness. And it was so that when they that bare the ark of Yahuwah had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed oxen and fatlings. And David danced before Yahuwah with all his might. And David was girded with a linen ephod. And David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of Yahuwah with shouting and with the sound of the trumpet.
Hallelujah. Okay, so here it is. We see that David is truly going to go and he's going to retrieve the ark of Elohim, the presence of Elohim from Obed-Edom, and he's going to do so with dancing, before Yahuwah. That is, with praising Yahuwah, and he was girded with a linen ephod, which represents righteousness, and so when we go to retrieve it, we're going to have to do so with praising the Most High, and we're going to have to be in righteousness. Amen?
Amen.
And it says, and he had all the house of Israel with him, and they were shouting. This word shouting is teruah, so they're praising the Most High, and teruah gives us a hint that it will be during the fall feast.
Yes.
So 2 Samuel 6:16 through 19. My next reader, please.
And as the ark of Yahuwah came into the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before Yahuwah, and she despised him in her heart. And they brought in the ark of Yahuwah and set it in his place in the midst of the tabernacle that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offered before Yahuwah. And as soon as David had made an end of offering burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of Yahuwah of hosts. And he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well as to the women as men, to every one a cake of bread and a good piece of flesh and a flagon of wine. So all the people departed, every one to his house.
Hallelujah. So eventually, and this teaches us eventually our Messiah, and eventually those of us who are spiritually David, we're going to eventually get the presence of Yahuwah, within the tabernacle of David that we have pitched for. So don't give up. It's happening. It's going to happen. Amen.
Amen.
So we just have to stay steadfast, keep dancing. That is praising Him, and keep that linen ephod on. Doing so in righteousness. So here it is. This is the new cart. The oxen has shaken the ox cart. Uzzah is dead. The ark has been with the servants of Edom, that is the servants of flesh. They have been blessed because of it. But soon and very soon, the beloved of Elohim are going to retrieve it from the winepress and put it within the tabernacle of his beloved. That is the tabernacle of David that we're pitching for it. Now, what does this look like? Spiritually speaking, what's forthcoming, is foretold in Revelation 14. When we look at Revelation 14:1, it shows us with the son of David in the midst of the tabernacle of David, spiritually speaking. Revelation 14:1, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. So we see our Messiah back. He's on Mount Zion, which is where King David ruled from upon the earth. Amen. And with him the 144,000. And during this time there's messages from 3 angels. Revelations 4:6-11 says, and I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, fear Elohim and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. Don't you know that his judgment is coming? It's not going to stay away forever. It's coming. and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest day or night who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. And it says, here is the patience of the saints. We have to have patience, saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahushua. Now this is speaking about the last days. This is speaking about when our Messiah come back, right? Mm-hmm. Can you see that it's saying here are they that keep the commandments of Elohim? Yeah. Did you catch that? When so many people are saying that commandments of Elohim are done away with? Mm-hmm. You know, it's telling you right here that the patience of the saints are they that keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahushua. Yes. Yes, that's what we have to do. You know, verse 13, and I heard a voice from heaven saying, right, blessed are the dead which died in the Adonai from henceforth. Yea, saith the Ruach, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. Don't think that the good deeds that you do go unnoticed and that they won't be rewarded. They will. You know, but I want you to make sure you catch that. Right, blessed are the dead which die in the Adonai from henceforth. Yeah, it's going to be a time when it's going to be you're going to be blessed to die. There's going to be a time when some folks going to try to die and can't. Right. Blessed are the dead which die in the Adonai from henceforth. Why? Because it's the harvest time. You know, verses 14 through 19, and I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat upon the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle in the earth, and the earth was reaped. So can't you see our Messiah, the one upon the cloud, like unto the Son of Man, having his crown, his golden crown? He's coming to get his. Yeah. He has his sickle in his hand. He has not forgotten about us. He's coming back for us. He sat on the cloud, he thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, and he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar which he had power over fire, and cried with a loud voice to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of Elohim. See, there's a wine press. Can you see that spiritually? Can you see that our Messiah is going to those servants of flesh, and he's taking the presence of Elohim from them? Just as 2 Samuel 6 depicts. There is a wine press. There's a great wine press. You know, it speaks to the wrath of Elohim. Our Messiah is going to go there. He is going to get his from there. He's going to get his people. He's going to get those, the ark of Elohim, the covenant of Elohim. Those of us who are covenanted with him. Those of us who have the presence of Elohim within us. He's coming back for us. He's going to come and get us. You know, so what we're reading about in 2Samuel 6 has had some fulfillment and has a greater fulfillment to come. You know, when he truly will go and get that presence of Elohim, those of us who have the presence of Elohim, you know, because we're praising before him and have on our linen ephods our righteousness. Amen. You know, that comes from him. Because we keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahushua.
Yes.
2 Samuel 6:20-23, and David returned to bless his household, and Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, how glorious was the king of Israel today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovered himself. And David said to Michal, it was before Yahuwah, which chose me before thy father and before all his house, to appoint me ruler over the people of Yahuwah, over Israel. Therefore will I play before Yahuwah. Anybody ashamed to play before Yahuwah? Anybody ashamed to praise him? He says, and I will yet be more vile than thus, and will be base in my own sight. And of the maidservants which thou hast spoken of them shall I be had in honor. Therefore Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child until the day of her death. You know, so don't never be ashamed to praise Yah.
That's right.
You know, there's going to be some times when you don't feel like praising. There's going to be some times when you're going to be a little embarrassed, you know, because of people that are around you. You know, you have to get past that. When you want that presence of Elohim within this tabernacle that you've pitched for it, you're going to have to look past what other people think about you. You're going to have to look past, you know, so-called embarrassment. You should be embarrassed because you're not praising them, not because you're praising them. You know, when you see them at the ball games and at the concerts, they're praising. You know, and when you was in the world and you was at the ball games and at the concerts, you were praising. You didn't have a problem shouting then. You know, when they hit a home run or when they won the winning shot or, you know, what have you, made a touchdown, there wasn't no shame in praising them then, was it? Don't be ashamed to praise them now. Don't be ashamed to praise the Most High. If you can praise that bull crap, you should be able to praise the Most High. Hallelujah. That's all I have for you today. Pray it was a blessing.